I wanted to ask you, Lee. I mean, I don't know if we're going to get into the other debates. We'll do this one quickly, actually. Viewers, you can let us know as well. Virgil van Dijk or or Vidic. Which of the two had the greatest impact on their team when they arrived, in your opinion?
Vidic for me. I like Van Dijk. I think he's been superb, but to even compare him to Vidic, I thought was crazy. I can't lie. Yeah, and I've seen that. Somebody sent me your tweet. Yeah, where Carragher quote tweeted you. It was quite funny. Yeah, it was quite. You're a bit of celebrity now these days, isn't you, Terry?
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, Vidic. Yeah, like both fantastic defenders. Like Van Dijk for me has been the best centre back in the world for years until he fell off this season big time. Yeah, but over the time he's been at Liverpool, he has had a massive impact on that team. Like him and Alisson. Like when they got rid of Coutinho and signed them two, that's elevated them massively. Yeah, and it gave them that stable foundation defensively when they've got a proper goalkeeper, a proper centre back, and whoever plays next to Van Dijk does play better. Yeah, the only thing I will say here is everyone's going to come out with the argument, oh yeah, but Vidic had Rio next to him. Yeah, this guy's had all sorts of crap next to him. Yeah, that's great. That's cool. Yeah, we're talking about individual player. And for me, Vidic is better. Yeah, and I've seen Vidic's whole career at Man United. Yeah, and I've seen Van Dijk's whole career at Liverpool. So I got just my opinion. People might disagree with it, but for me, Vidic all day long.
I think Van Dijk was the best centre back in the world for about 3 years. I think Van Dijk is a absolutely sensational football player. It really is. And what I've tried to do in the last 24 hours is at no point attack him or slag him off, because that's not how you win. As soon as you attack your opponent and try and belittle their brilliant achievements, you've lost the debate straight away. It's a bit like I had an argument with someone the other day that if 5 guys jump one guy and beat him up, the 5 guys that jumped the one guy lost, because you jump. If groups of people jump in on someone, you're pussies and you've lost the fight by default. Where I grew up, if me and my boys jump someone, the next Monday morning at school, be like, oh, you guys are it would have been the default, you lost, right? And I look at that in a debate when you start slagging people off that are really good. We know how good Van Dijk was, so there's no need to criticize his brilliance. However, what Liverpool did yesterday, what Carragher did yesterday, or what people have done in the debate today that we were having, is they're happy that they continually reframe the conversation to try and elevate it to number one. So what what Jamie Carragher said was, no centre-back in the Premier League era has ever had VVD's impact on the team. So how do you measure impact on a team? Where you were when you came in to what you go on to achieve, right? He didn't mention he didn't say no centre-back in Premier League history had the passing ability of this player, or the speed of this player, or the presence of this player, or the leadership ability of this player. He said impact on the team. So I pointed out that in 7 years, Vidic won 5 Premier Leagues, 1 Champions League, 3 League Cups, World Cup Championship. And the argument that Torres did him up bad, listen, he had
Torres
3
did everyone bad.
He scored 3 times in 15 games against Vidic. Rashford scored, I think, 6 goals in 13 games against Van Dijk. But it's a narrative that was created at the time to make Vidic look bad. And then what we started to see was, you can't tell me that Vidic was a better football player than VVD.
Because they changed the goalposts.
Just like the argument earlier, where people will say, but this Liverpool team has to be a great team because it was only a great Pep team that stopped them winning more. But no one uses that when it comes to Fergie's record in Europe. They pick and choose when to move goalposts and when to elevate.
Mate, most of these people, Terry, that are sitting there saying Vidic have never seen, that are saying Van Dijk, have never seen Vidic's whole career. Yeah, they've probably just seen the back end of it when they were just getting into football as a teenager or a 10-year-old or whatever, but they've seen Van Dijk's whole career. Yeah, it's like Messi and Maradona, for example. I will never put Maradona above Messi, and I see the back end of Maradona's career, right? But I've seen the whole of Messi's. I know that Maradona is one of the greats, and I can appreciate that. And my old man has told me he's better than Messi ever will be. Yeah, but for me, Messi's better. Yeah, so I get it. It's, if you ain't seen the whole career of a player, you're never going to rate him as highly as the player you've seen.
No, and I get that completely, which is why I say to people, you have to look at what people achieved. And we're getting into an era in football now where winning trophies, and we had it kind of in our previous debate, where winning trophies is like people are finding ways to circumvent the idea of winning trophies. And me and you both agree the ultimate aim of elite level sports is what you win. And I know that we like to judge players individually, but it's only been the last couple of years that we started doing that overly. You shouldn't be judging players individually. You should be judging them on the impact they have on teams and what them and their teams achieve. Now, if you're comparing a top class player in a much lesser team, a much smaller club, who have no chance of actually winning the trophies, he looks world class, but he's at Brighton, then fair enough. But over the course of their career, that guy's
talking about Welbeck.
Yeah, Welbeck and Salah. But so for me, it's like you have to compare what they went on to achieve, and they tried to reframe the debate yesterday because they got cooked. Because impact means what you win, and Vidic killed him. And equally, a Liverpool fan DM'd me saying, "Look, he goes, I'd always sign Vidic. I'd always sign Van Dijk over Vidic, knowing what we know now." And I'm like, "But you wouldn't, because Vidic from 2006 to 2013, by the way, also had a cruciate knee ligament injury and came back the following year and won the Premier League. This guy was consistent that whole time. Your guy has been brilliant, but he's faded away now. So now he might come back. And in 2 or 3 years' time, Van Dijk might come back to the peak of his powers and Liverpool go and win 2 or 3 more Premier Leagues. Then the debate changes because the information and the facts change. But right now, most Liverpool fans are saying this guy looks like he's done. So based on that logic, you would always sign Vidic because at his peak, Van Dijk was better. But you're going to get a more consistent and very high level Vidic for 7-8 years. That's much better than someone who's the best in the world for 3 and then falls off, rather than someone who is amazing and one of the best in the world for 8 years. I'd always pick. That's why the debate versus peak versus longevity is a nonsense for me. Because who do you think at their peak best was better, Cristiano Ronaldo or R9?
R9.
But if you know what you know now about both their careers, and you could sign one at 18 and have him until they retire, who would you sign? Honestly.
R9.
But you get my point, right?
I do get your point. Somebody who can go for 17 years, or somebody who's dusted by 23. Yeah, because he was battered by 23.
Yeah,
that's why I think he was so great.
Yeah,
because he was finished.
Oh,
yeah,
mate,
the injuries had done him by
R9 at his peak, I think there's an argument to say the greatest footballer of all time. But when it comes to real football, if you're doing a hindsight prediction or a hindsight debate, which this is, you look back and go, well, we know what happened to those individuals. We know the trajectory. At 18 years of age, a lot of people in the world were picking out of Messi, Ronaldo, and Rooney. Rooney, by foreign pundits and ex-pros as well, was being picked as the one that was going to be the better of the 3. Now we know what we know.
This is why I don't listen to him.
Yeah. But you know what's funny, bro? The thing is, if you went back now, right? Those 3, we went back in the time machine and bought them all now. And you go, which of the 3 are you going to buy? No one would pick Rooney. They'd pick the other 2. No, if you only had a choice of one, because we now know which ones went on to be the best and have had the longer careers. So with the hindsight being with both Van Dijk and Vidic, we know who you'd all pick. You'd all pick Vidic because his level was only slightly below Van Dijk at his peak, but he went on for longer, he achieved more, and he's a better leader. It's as simple and as straightforward for that, mate. It's as simple and straightforward as that for me.
And neither of them are as good as Tony Adams or John Terry, by the way. You think I'm joking? Neither of them are better than John Terry or Tony Adams. Best 2 centre-backs in the league ever.
And then, but no, because I think Sol Campbell's better than them, and then I think Rio's better than him.
Sol Campbell was brilliant. Let's not get it twisted here.
Nah,
Rio's up there as well. Rio was just a Rolls Royce to watch, mate. But Tony Adams and John Terry, best 2 centre-backs you've ever seen.
Do you know who we're forgetting, though? We are forgetting one. No, I do think this guy was the best.
Carvalho.
No, Yap Stam.
Yeah, Yap Stam was decent as well. Didn't he strangle Fergie? I'm sure he strangled Fergie, didn't he?
I don't know.
He strangled Fergie.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about it as well, right? You know what's really funny about it? Is they tried bringing out all these but man, this is the thing with Stam was here 3 years. 3 years. Treble and a 3-peat, okay? One was in Team of the Year every single year and was voted Europe's best defender in every season he was at Man United. Like, this guy's 3 years were the elite of the elite of the elite. But there we go. Super chat here says Lee always acting like everyone else. Sorry, I can't read. Lee is always acting like everyone else, but he are teenagers, and he's the only one who has watched older football in every argument. Ridiculous.
Mate, you support Spurs. What are you chatting about?
I
You're from
struggle.
Norway. You're from Norway, and you've got come on you Spurs in your app, bro. Evaluate your footballing career going forward, like life
Who
fandom.
should he support? Vikings Stefana.
No, FC Mulder.
No, my cousin played for Vikings. He was my cousin. I've always told this story. He was playing for Vikings.
Out of all the clubs he could have supported, being Norwegian, you chose Spurs. Mate, come on.
Mould Winmore.
What was you thinking?
Mould Winmore.
Did Mulder, his first team, actually go and play Spurs in pre-season or something? Is that why you picked Spurs? Like,
I don't know. This guy here says Vidic was Romero on steroids. DVD is the best.
Nah. They were both brilliant, but Vidic all day long for me.
This is a question back to earlier. Wenger's 7 years was better than Klopp's 7 years.
Yeah, he won more.
I agree. The greatness. Yeah, I agree. Lee, I win 1-0. I'm joking. No, I don't even know.
601.
VVD's 3-year peak was better than any central defender, but he's not on my top 8 central defenders of all time.
I disagree with that. 3-year peak's better than any other central defender. No way. Yeah, John Terry and Tony Adams, mate. Yeah, and you can throw Sol Campbell in. Yep, Stam could be in there. Vidic is above him anyway. Yeah, and this is what, like, when people say world class and peak and stuff like that, I always worry about like it's not a dig at him. He's, like, obviously sound, yeah, but like when you say world class, Terry, we were watching the world class players back in the 90s. Yeah, company's a shout as well, by the way, from that fella in the chat. Yeah, but we weren't sitting there back in the day saying, oh, yeah, like this defender's world class. We were just appreciating our good players well. And there was none of this world class tag being bandied around then. Yeah, but it's only when you come now, people want to highlight and go, well, that player's world class. In his peak, he's better than him. It's like, mate, none of these players can literally tie the laces of them centre-halves in Italy in the 90s, mate. Like, real talk. As good as Van Dijk is, he ain't getting in any of them Italian teams in the 90s. Neither's Vidic. Yeah,
no, those guys were next level. GR says Vidic got sent off 3 times on the bounce versus Torres at Liverpool. He did.
I remember that as well.
He did, and it was a bad time, right? And you look at that and go, look how many mistakes Van Dijk's made this season, though. So. And I saw a compilation of all of Vidic's mistakes. The thing is, you could go and find Maldini, who is arguably the greatest defender in the history of football. Arguably, you could make a compilation of his mistakes. You could find the things that he did wrong. Look how good Sergio Ramos is. How many times he's been sent off? Does that make him not one of the best centre backs in the history of Spanish and maybe European football? Does it fuck? It's a nonsense. We're talking about.
Maldini was one of the best centre backs and one of the best left backs in the world.
Let's not reframe the argument. Him getting sent off 5 times doesn't matter. The claim made was who had the better impact. So in spite of getting sent off 3 times, he still won more, achieved more, and lasted longer. The impact was bigger. Thank you for the super chat, but the sending off don't change the fact we don't reframe arguments here. That 89 to 95 George Graham team was great. They knocked off the great 80s Liverpool team. Have the best defense of all time as well. Yeah, mate, listen, it's definitely one of the great sides. It definitely is. Again, I've been taught about it today, and I'd always change my mind on things.
I thought you would have known Arsenal history, Terry, being an Arsenal fan.
Oi! Vidic remains the only defender to win the player of the. I mean, the guy won player of the Premier League twice, like legit. And also another little record. I know him and Vidic, Rio did this together, but they got the longest clean sheet drought as a centre back pairing in the history, I think, of Europe, world football, a little world record. So there's loads of little records, but I'm not worried about that. I'm just looking at who won the most. That is how you judge the best. Who won the most? When you're comparing elite level players. So I don't want to hear, does that mean Luke Chadwick's better than Gerrard? No, that's a weak man's argument, and it's banned now on the Terrace. You get banned. You get banned from the Terrace for throwing that in as an argument because only.
But I thought everyone's opinions were allowed, Terry.
Other than my dad always said, if you hang around with fools too long, you are one. You are what you hang around with. And I know the Terrace community are not dickheads.